and I'ma kill this stuff real quick. I'ma go take it to town, cause I gotta be that king in their ring when I'm knocking them out when I'm back with the whip. Cause I am just up on the journey, you just know that I'm just going insane.
Warriors, rise. Grand rising. Good evening, warriors all over the world. Excited to be with you guys on this Monday. What date is it today? June 17th, 2024. I am back from a long journey out in Peru. Thank you for the ability to step away. I had some pre-recorded content out there, and I'm back refreshed and ready to go. This is going to be a new segment I'm going to be doing on Mondays, 12 o'clock Arizona time. I'm going to be going live to present some news, some things that I think are going on with the economy, sharing macro and microeconomic views. And then I'm going to be diving deep into questions with you guys for about 30 to 45 minutes to really connect with you guys. As I came back from Peru, I really wanted to build a deeper connection with the community and work together to lock arm in arm to expand consciousness. Now, this is the greatest time in human history right now. So I put on my title, The Banking Crisis Began at the Petrodollar Ends, which we had some really powerful news as we finished out the week last week while I was out in Peru. I completely disconnected from Peru. Everything was pre-recorded, but I'm really excited to be back with you guys. So this is going to be a long-standing show where I'm going to be going live every Monday. And then coming up in the next couple Fridays, I'm going to be starting to do interviews with some of the biggest people, brightest stars in the industry, bringing you a lot of information to help you and your family navigate these economic times. So we're going to be talking about today and answering some questions on the back end of it. We're going to talk about BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. We're also going to talk about how the petrodollar was not renewed last year, and they are now expanding outside of America for oil, which is really interesting. So if you didn't watch my video this morning, I highly recommend you go take a look at the video with the El Salvador president, where he is talking about how the West is in big trouble. Now, before we continue on, the reason why I'm smiling, this is the greatest time in human history to build wealth for your family. Remember what happened, guys. In World War II, after World War II, there was innovation, technology, and a new superpower. As we're transitioning and Ray Dalio's changing world order, we have a massive wealth gap. We have massive amounts of debt. Okay. Those two things right now, the things that we're experiencing right now, our grandparents and our parents didn't experience. We have 120% debt to income ratio. We have the most polarizing presidential election coming up where the left and right are battling against each other. We have basically civil war going on in America, and we're heading into World War III. Now, it's not by chance that the announcement, which I'm going to share with you tomorrow, that 94% of central banks are working to go into a CBDC. It's not by chance that Ripple's launching its stablecoin this year. It's not by chance that the Ripple case will end in 2024 against the SEC. It's not by chance that BlackRock all of a sudden said that it was Jamie Dimon said it was a pet rock. BlackRock, Larry Fink said that it was used for money laundering in 2023, switched his whole tone and said it's a flight to safety. Guys, the American financial system is switching. But now here's what I'm going to say is I'm not worried about the dollar collapsing. We still have to understand America is the strongest country financially, economically, and resource-wise, okay? We are the most powerful. We have the most resources. We have the biggest military. But if you watch the video this morning, you dive into the interview with Tucker Carlson and the El Salvador president, we got caught with our pants down. That's what happened in America. Okay. Warren Buffett says when the tide goes out, you'll see who has their pants down. And America got caught with their trunks off. So now America is backpedaling, trying to figure this out. They're behind in innovation. So the good news is, well, we all know the presidential election is really, really important. That is going to change everything for the next 100 years. So we're going to dive into the news. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer some questions within here. And I'm going to be doing this every single Monday. So expect to be here at 12 o'clock on Monday. We're going to break bread together. We're going to chat. And I'm going to start to build a closer relationship with you guys as I go forward. And I want to share with you guys a couple of the key things I learned while I was in Peru. As I go on these deep spiritual journeys in Peru every single year. I may be going back this year, and I may be doing what's called a diete next year, where I'll be gone for 3 weeks, completely disconnected from what we call this reality, cell phones, connection, and all that stuff. Now, the reason why I personally go and do that is because I am working to master my living experience and heal my soul while I'm here on earth. And because what I do believe is that the mindset and the things that I'm experiencing within my physical reality are a manifestation of my soul. And I believe I came here to heal those things with my soul. And I have so much work to do. And the thing, I get emotional talk about this, the thing that I see in you is I see God in everybody. I see God in everybody. I seek to develop unconditional love for humanity. I love God with all my heart, and I love you as I love God. I work to pull the log out of my eye before I pull the straw out of yours. And I work to treat others as I want to be treated. And I teach my kids to live by those 3 rules. So every single time I go back to Peru, I think it's been 19 ceremonies that I've done. It's not that God is not with me now. It's not that I don't have a great relationship with God now, or Christ Jesus, Yeshua, Jesus Christ, whatever you believe in. I believe in Jesus Christ, Christ Jesus, Yeshua, and God. It's that it gives me the opportunity to completely disconnect from the social media, the busyness, and just to sit and to really look at my intentions. And as I came back, my intentions are to build a deeper relationship with you. Even the people who disfavor my content, is to build a deeper relationship with you and to come together to expand consciousness together. So we built massive ecosystems. If you need support or anything, if you click the description of our video, you can set up a needs assessment with my team. A lot of people ask us all the time how we ensure our wealth in Tier 1 capital. There's a needs assessment you can fill out down below. My team will reach out to you. But let's jump into the news and let's answer some questions. And you can throw any questions you want at me, good, bad, or indifferent. And we're going to be doing this every single Monday. So let's dive into the news. Okay, first, what I want to take a look at is Treasury expands sanctions threat against banks dealing with Russia. Now, you guys remember when Russia invaded Ukraine, what was the first thing Biden did? So you're going to want to come to these things with some pen and paper because this is going to really help us, okay, as we build through this. Because, guys, this is the greatest opportunity in human history for you to free your family. Okay, so Biden immediately took Russia off the SWIFT system, or worked to do that, right? So that is, it's all financial. Everything is financial. So we need to understand that. The benefit to what we're experiencing, the small 417 people of the 8 billion people in population, and the very few people that have access to this type of knowledge or seeking this type of knowledge, you guys are the new 1%. You are making moves to invest in the new innovative way of finances. Everything is changing. So Treasury Secretary expands sanctions threat against banks dealing with Russia. This is really, really important what's happening. Putin says BRICS developing independent payment systems free from political pressure. So this is all financial. Okay. America, this is where the education comes in. America has been the dominant currency. Well, they've been the dominant currency or the dominant nation for a while, but after 1942, after the World War II, right, we became the global superpower financially. Okay. Then we went into 1971. And this sounds familiar, right? What is the SEC trying to do us? Trying to protect us from speculators in cryptocurrency. Well, in 1971, we detached from the gold standard on a regular program show. President Nixon comes on board. He detaches us from the gold standard, right? Basically making our money fiat. Now, fiat systems work until it doesn't. Policies work until they don't. So 1971, they detached us from the gold standard, and we've been in a somewhat low interest rate environment. The 80s, inflation and interest rates kind of went up where we're at right now, but we're actually in a very low tax bracket right now, and inflation isn't too bad right now, which I'll talk about that in just a moment. But from 1971 to about 2020, our grandparents and our parents and us specifically lived in a low interest rate environment and money just flowing like water, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, in 2020, remember Rosie Rios said you need a shock to the system to change consumer behaviors. Well, we had a global shock to the system. Now, was there a reason there was a global shock to the system? Well, yes. The monetary system cannot continue in an old archaic banking system. An analog system cannot continue in the new quantum financial system. So how are you going to get a whole population of people? How are you going to get a whole population of people to switch their behaviors? Shock the system, right? So then all of a sudden we come into 2020 and everything gets shut down worldwide. America decides to turn the printing machine on full blast in a low interest rate environment. And that's where things got really, really sticky. Okay. Then they initiate a case against Ripple. And during the pandemic, 2020, December 20th, they initiate a case against Ripple around XRP being a security, the most well-run crypto company in the world, who was already working with institutions and banks and institutions, had been meeting with the SEC because it was the most disruptive technology, and they knew that the system had to change, right? So then we fast forward, okay? All of a sudden, cryptocurrency is a pet rock. It's used for money laundering. And then we go into 2023, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa started. Remember, they formed in 2009 when Bitcoin's inception was created. Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and South Africa came together. Okay. And they started inviting other countries in, or other countries started applying. Specifically, Saudi Arabia came in, and they all of a sudden, when Biden sanctioned Russia, they immediately said, screw this, man. So this is what takes us to this point in the news. Okay. So if we take a look at this, Putin says BRICS is developing independent payment system free from political pressure. Okay. And President Putin says freezing Russia's assets in the West will not go unpunished. Guys, they're taking us into World War III. If you study Ray Dalio's Changing World Order, you study spiritual history, you study the Roman days, these are waves of energy. Remember, guys, this is what JP Morgan said. Billionaires use astrology, millionaires use charts. If you're following the charts and you're trying to get rich quick, you're going to get wrecked. Wall Street wins 100% of the time, okay? There's an energy frequency field that is changing right now. You're in the right place at the right time. You have to get really, really strict on putting blinders on. You got to get non-emotional about this stuff. We are heading into a brand new world. And how do they do it? War. Unfortunately, I didn't create the system, but that's what happens. So we have to really put the blinders on. We have to really work to get our shit together. We have to really focus on our mind, our emotions, and the things that we're doing on a daily basis. Okay, so we know that's what President Putin said, Putin said. BRICS will create a payment system based on digital currencies and blockchain. Okay, for some time now, BRICS has been making efforts to reduce its reliance on the U.S. dollar settlement. Okay, so we know that's coming. So this is what I wanted to get into. Around the petrodollar, because I've been talking about the history of the petrodollar for quite a while now, right? So last week, the contract ended per se, okay? And what they decided to do is they're really not renewing the contract. They're going to start to expand their oil production outside of the U.S. Now, remember, in 1971, we attached the gold standard. In 1974, 1973, we had the oil crisis going into 1974. Then we created what's called the petrodollar. We went to the Saudis to protect them with arms and military protection. I believe it was military protection, if they would trade all oil in US dollars. Okay, so that's been going on for a long time, which made America the most dominant currency in the world. Another thing we need to think about is the US dollar's collapse. I said 99% since 1913. Somebody corrected me, about 97% since 1913 when the Federal Reserve was created. Okay, well, last week was historical, and this is what happened last week.
Saudi Arabia has decided to terminate its 50-year-old petrodollar agreement with the United States. As per reports, the deal was signed on June 8, 1974, but has expired on June 9, 2024, and the Middle East country has not renewed it. Petrodollar is a term used as the US dollar as the currency for global crude oil transactions. The petrodollar system came in after US went off the gold standards. The deal was set up joint commissions for economic cooperation and Saudi Arabia's military needs. In exchange for guaranteeing the security of the Saudi regime and providing military aid, Saudi Arabia agreed to price its oil exports exclusively in US dollars. This agreement ensured a steady demand for the US dollars as other countries needed dollars to purchase oil, effectively reinforcing the dollar's status as the world's primary reserve currency. But with the changing dynamics, what it does now is that it enables Saudi Arabia to sell oil and other goods in multiple currencies.
Okay, so that's what I wanted you guys to see. So they're now going to go outside of the US dollars. They're going to sell it in the euro, yuan, and then Russia, before the sanctions, was using 70% of the US dollar. They are now 100% moving to yuan. Now, I want you to think about this for just a moment, which I'm going to show you another thing with Tucker Carlson and this gentleman, Representative Thomas Massie, okay? The tightrope that we're walking right now, and Jerome Powell, I couldn't imagine being in Jerome Powell's seat right now, right? Jerome Powell knows right now that he can't lower interest rates. He can't, because think about this. We're at 120% debt to income ratio. We have more debt than we have money in the system. It's dangerous, okay? The middle class needs to make $150,000 a year just to be middle class now. The consumer credit index is at an all-time high. Credit cards are maxed. Okay, people can't afford a home anymore. And what they want to do is to lower interest rates before the presidential election because the markets will look favorable. So remember that when rates go down, our crypto and stocks and houses are going to go through the roof, which is a great thing being an investor. Okay, but if they lower interest rates, what does that do to the dollar, guys? It makes it less attractive. And if they are now, if Russia is like screwing the, say, the US dollar and they're going all into the yuan, China holds a ton of US treasuries. If they start to dump those US treasuries back on us, we could go into hyperinflation, guys. So we're walking this delicate tightrope. Now, do you see why Larry Fink switched from Bitcoins used for money laundering, boom, to a flight to safety? Do you see why, which I'm going to show you the video tomorrow, why I think it's 94%, don't quote me on it, 94% of central banks are now moving into central bank digital currency, right? The private and public sector are coming together. Why all of a sudden all these crypto laws are starting to be pushed through. Why all of a sudden, well, the guy from the SEC just quit. Guys, everything is about to change. And so we have to really put those blinders on. We have to stay focused. And everybody's so, you can see people getting frustrated in the cryptocurrency industry because of the sideways action, guys. This is where the wealthy are bought in. You have to be patient, extremely patient. But I want to give you one more video here that really dives into the economy. This is really good to listen to because what we're going through is going to be written in history books, which is amazing. And I truly believe there's going to be a brand new 1%, and that's going to be you. Okay. So we have to put the long-term horizon. So let's watch this video real quick, and then I'm going to go to the audience here. We're going to answer some questions. Okay. And we're going to be doing this every Monday now, guys. So make sure you put that on your calendar. Here we go.
What is that thing moving on your lapel, on your pocket?
That's the debt. That's my anxiety generator.
He literally has a lapel on that he walks around with the national debt. I mean, that's how crazy this is getting. He walks around with a lapel in Congress with the national debt on his lapel. Check this out.
So it's actually making me really anxious. Is that real time?
Yes. So it's synced to Treasury. It gets the debt to the penny once a day. And then it looks at what the debt was a year ago, and it comes up with a rolling average debt per second. And it interpolates on weekends and holidays when the Treasury is not paying attention. I am.
So I think you're the only one who wants to know.
Yes. And I want my colleagues to know. And it's great to wear this thing in an elevator with like Adam Schiff, and he's got nowhere to look. I once caught a female congresswoman staring at it and had to tell her my eyes were up here. She asked me why I didn't make a belt buckle out of it.
Can you say who it was? Because I like.
No, I cannot.
Oh, well, she's funny. That's very impressive. So what's the message of it?
The message is this is urgent. You know, it's hard to comprehend 14 digits of debt, but when you see the last 5 digits are moving, I am trying to make people feel very uncomfortable. I wear this on the floor of the house.
Yeah.
And people literally they'll press the button that says yay or nay. I've argued we should relabel the voting button spend and don't spend.
Yeah.
They're red and green if you got that far and can't read. I say it's like stop and go, but I've seen people press the spend button, then turn around and look at my debt badge and ask, did it just go up? But I want them to realize there are consequences to what they're doing, because they have been, I think, as you said, just ignoring it, putting it off to the side.
It almost feels like, it's so big that why even deal with it?
That's where we are. We're kind of, I think a lot of lawmakers are apathetic. Yes. They're like, well, we can't fix it. We're not going to fix it. We might as well indulge in it, and I'll see what I can get.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So where does it end?
Right now, we're able to finance it because we're the world's reserve currency.
So important.
And when we print more money, which we're doing all the time, the Fed is doing that, we're actually taxing the world. Everybody in the world who holds dollars gets like a 3% transaction fee. I say we're kind of.
I want you guys to hear that part, because this is what I was talking about. Okay. So every time we do something with our economy, every time we raise rates or lower interest rate, it affects everybody. Okay. And this will take us back to 2009. Before 2009, I remember 2006 to 2008, I went into banking right after the financial collapse. And when I went into banking, I'd be sitting in the bank, guys, and people would be coming in that had no income and had $1 million homes. They were giving out loans to people with no stated income. It was crazy. And I'm like, who did this? I was even thinking that. I was new to banking at that point in my life. And so all these other countries were looking at America back then and were like, who is regulating this stuff? And so they started to say, wait a minute, guys, there's something going on in America. Their heads have gotten too big. There's too much greed. Nobody's paying attention. Nobody's regulating these people, right? They were giving out loans to cats and dogs. And all of a sudden the American housing bubble hit, right? And it destroyed people financially. So Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa came together, and it's ironic that Bitcoin's inception was at that exact same time, and they've been working to de-dollarize. And so now we've caught the ball. Now the difference is, in my opinion, is we caught the ball in a high inflation environment after a pandemic. We also caught the ball when we're negative debt to income ratio. Okay, very, very different environment. So whatever Jerome Powell does with these rates has a massive ripple effect on the economy. The difference is now is they're starting to grow some balls, right? They're starting to stand on their own 2 feet, and they can now because of the advent of blockchain technology, central bank digital currencies, connectivity, even playing field, a monetary system that is efficient and fast. We can move into a new system. What I think is going to happen is I don't think that the American dollar is going to collapse. I think we're going to transition into a bag of currencies that's going to be regulated on more of an even playing field, right? And again, guys, I'm telling you this, well, you know this, I'm preaching to the choir here. On November 4th, 2024, whoever becomes president, that is the future of America for the next 100 years. And if it goes one way, it's going to be a effing disaster. And if it goes another way, it's going to be a disaster within America because there's going to be civil war. But we're going to see a much better progression out there. So you guys can comment what you think. Either way, guys, remember, it's all about what you do today.
Kind of like the credit card at the gas station that gets 3% because you're using that credit card.
Right.
Well, we get 3% from inflation we cause because the world is using our currency. And we can do that as long as they use our currency. But I think it's going to end at some point. They're going to quit using our dollars as reserve currency. I mean, I watched your interview with Putin. And one of the things, you know, whether you hate him or not, one of the things he said that is true is when we sanctioned him, before we sanctioned Russia, 70% of their transactions were in US dollars. And after the sanctions, it's less than 20% of their transactions are in US dollars. So what we're doing with all these sanctions, ironically, we're shooting ourselves in the foot every time we sanction a country and say you can't use our currency to have a transaction. We're taking away our ability to charge them 3% for that transaction, because when we print 3% more dollars, we're just taking that money.
And we're also sending a really clear signal, which is the dollar's not safe for you.
Right. Okay. So we'll get off our soapbox with that. You can go watch that interview. It's a pretty powerful interview, but let's start answering questions here. So basically where we're at right now, and again, I'm not, this isn't people that I'm fear mongering. This is fact mongering. This is facts, figures, numbers, logic. These are real things that are happening right now. This isn't conspiracy. This isn't my thoughts on it. This is actually happening. The average American needs $150,000 to survive right now, to be middle class, a middle class American, which is crazy, guys. And remember, if they lower interest rates, which I think he'll lower interest rates once, and I've been saying that in September, if he does, your crypto, your stocks, your house is going to go through the roof. It's going to make houses completely unaffordable. So let's dive into some of these questions here. Will there be a physical war before 2030 or just a financial war? That's a great question. I think that they go hand in hand, right? The financial war always ends up in a physical war, right? It's usually when the economies are doing really poorly, we go to war to create what? To create money. That's what war is for, unfortunately. And so we're on the precipice of World War III. We had Russia invade Ukraine, right? We sanctioned Russia on the SWIFT system. Then we have China working to invade Taiwan. Why do you think we're going to protect Taiwan? Because of semiconductors, right? Then we have the things going, all the stuff in Gaza, all those things happening. These are all timed out, guys. The American financial system, America is still, guys, the superpower. That's one thing. That's why I'm not saying the dollar is going to collapse. America is the most wealthy country, number one. Number two, we have the most resources. We have the biggest military. We have the best innovation, science, technology, all those things. But something has to be maintenance in America. That is so critical. So I think we will go into a physical war I think there's going to be a physical war. I really believe that because it just makes sense if you look at the cyclic patterns that happen over and over again. And after wars, there's innovation, there's new governmental structures, there's a new way of doing financial systems, and there's new superpowers. And if you look at Ray Dalio's Changing World Order, America's in the decline, right? And again, it's not, this isn't a fear thing. I'm not going out and taking my money out of the banks. I'm not, I keep very little cash in the banks. If you guys know, I insure my wealth. I'm very open about that. I insure my wealth. I use Index Universal Life. I use precious metals. I use silver. I'm using Bitcoin as my gold. I'm using cryptocurrencies, extremely speculative asset. When it profits, I pull profits. And then we're getting heavily into real estate, multifamily as we move forward. Okay. All right. So like everything goes up until it can't. And that day is coming, whether we are here or not. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love this comment. It's everything works until it doesn't, right? Fiat currencies, fiat systems work if there's good policies and there's good people with good intentions. If there's people who are managing the treasury and not running on giving people a piece of the treasury, right? That's the biggest thing. If the treasury is run properly, right? If they're printing money for the proper things, if they're printing money to make sure that they're increasing the economic development of our society, if they're printing money to create more jobs and innovation and all that stuff. But if they're printing money in the Cantillon effect and giving it to all their friends at the top, and then it bleeds down to us and we end up with the central bank digital currency and UBI, no, that doesn't work. That's why I keep saying the next 6 months is so critical. I've been saying this since 2020. So you're absolutely right. There's going to be everything that goes up must come down. That's just a wave of energy. And so we are experiencing that. But the good news is, if there is good news, I hate to even say that, is that during these times, the most wealth is built. And I believe it's going to be some of you guys. Okay. Is a consensus thought that XRP will slowly rise or be flipped like a switch where we wake up one morning and it's unimaginable prices? Great question. So I don't do price predictions, but I think it's going to be now we know it's suppressed, right? Because the case and all that stuff, but it's based on utility, guys. I don't think everybody's like, there's a flip that's going to be switched and all of a sudden XRP is going to shoot up. I think it's going to follow the same bull run. I think the case is maybe going to give an initial pump. When the case gets settled, it'll be the only cryptocurrency with clarity. It's going to be all over the news, but you still need utility. You still need people using it. You still need people building on XRPL. We still need that utility. You still need the utility piece. And so for me, XRP is a long-term hold, right? All my cryptos are a long-term hold. I'll be exiting 50% in the bull run because I have very specific strategies I do with it. But yeah, I mean, it could go shooting up because it's been so suppressed. But some of these wild price predictions, I don't know. I don't do price predictions. I'm a long-term investor. If it goes to these, fantastic. But I don't think it's just going to be a switch that gets flipped. I think people are probably going to be quite disappointed after the case ends because they're going to expect it just to shoot up through the roof. But I think it's going to follow the same economic cycle, Bitcoin dominance, and then Bitcoin dominance is going to go down on the back end of the year. It's going to flood into alternative coins, which are all the coins, which will be XRP as well. How does XRP price benefit from real USD? How does XRP from real USD? I don't know how to answer that. How does XRP price benefit from real USD? I think it will benefit based on utility. So I'm not really understanding that question. So maybe someone in the comments could help me with that one. Let's see. Even a court gesture or even the court case in Ripple is all smoke and mirrors. Brad and the SEC know the end game. 100%, guys. The whole thing, like if you look at the SEC versus Ripple, who's the one that initiated the case against Ripple? Jay Clayton. Jay Clayton now sits on the bank bailing committee, the board of directors. Think about that. He left to consult for One River or New River Capital. They increased their position in Bitcoin and Ethereum just months before he left the SEC. So Gary Gensler is one of the creators of the FOMC, which was in 2012, the Future Oversight Committee, which is to regulate non-bank financial institutions. So let's back up to that year, 2012. We had the Mayan calendar end, which everybody thought the world was going to end like Y2K. I think that was a death of the old and the birth of the new. Rosie Rios was told to reduce coin and cash usage in 2012. The FOMC was created, the Future Oversight Committee, to regulate non-bank financial institutions, which is being implemented now. The Bank Bailing Committee was created in 2012, which was initiated in 2023 and reactivated again in 2024. The Bank Bailing Committee is very different from a bank bailout. A bank bail-in committee is taking all the debt of the bank, they turn it into equity and they sell it and they monopolize it with bigger banks, basically. Okay. A bank bailout is when they print money and they give the bank money. So why do we have a bank bail-in? Is because the banks are in bad position right now. When the bond yield inverted, okay, when the treasury bonds inverted, it actually sucked all the liquidity out of the banks. Okay. Now also banks make money in three ways: interest income, fee income, and capital markets income. Right? Interest income is off loans, auto loans, credit cards, home loans, all those things. They have fee income, which could be trading services. You have capital markets income, right? The people trading back and forth in the markets. So when we put our money into a bank, they take our money and put it in the capital markets. They insure it. Then they lend it out to the next person walking in. Well, with the average American needing to make $150,000 per year now, do you think people are going to be able to service their debt in the future? No. We're getting to the point where Americans can't even service our debt. America can't service this debt, but we don't get to just walk away. We don't just get to turn a printing machine on. We have to give up our home. We have to give up our car. We have to give up on things. They just turn the printing machine on full blast. Now, that's the thing that they have access to, is they can turn the printing machine on full blast. But what the dangerous place we're in right now is other countries now are like, America's not in a good financial position. El Salvador president keeps bringing it up. He's one of the most popular leaders. If you go watch that interview, he took El Salvador and made it from the most dangerous country in the world to one of the safest countries in the world in 3 years. 3 years. Now he's going to go after the economy. He's going to fix the economy, and they're buying Bitcoin, right? And so it can be done. That's the great news about this. The presidential election, whoever comes in, it's going to be really, really important. And the great thing about America is we are the most dominant currency. Number one, we're the most dominant country as well. So let's see. Why hasn't the dollar begun crashing yet? Great question, because it is the reserve. That's a powerful question. And that's why I keep telling people, I don't think it's going to crash in the next year or 2 years, 3 years. I think it's going to be a transition, because if the dollar collapses, the whole system collapses, guys. That's why I put my money to insurance. Banks hold a shitload of insurance. Wealthy people have insurance and real estate. I insure my principal of my money, because the dollar is in a position right now where it's losing its dominance. Okay. But if the dollar collapsed, everything would collapse. Almost everything is denominated in dollars, and the dollar controls all the economies, right? So if it just collapsed, the whole system would collapse. And we're still the richest country in the world. We're just in a transition. And I think the word flip the switch, or tomorrow you're going to wake up, and there's a lot of influencers say, oh, on this date, this is going to happen. This is all planned out. These are slow, methodical things happening. Problem, reaction, solution. There's a problem that's created, creates a reaction to the people, and the person who created the problem creates a solution, right? So you're seeing all of these announcements and all of these things happening are the transition slowly and methodically to move us from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, industrial to technical, right? From an old archaic banking system to new banking system. So the dollar really can't collapse, because if the country collapses, the whole world collapses. It's where the dominant currency. But you are seeing a transition that we need to pay attention to. People with no jobs were getting loans for houses. It was crazy, man. I mean, it was crazy. I went into banking after the collapse, and it was wild, man. There was people, no income stated loans. People had $1 million homes, interest only loans. They're paying like, $700 on a multi-million-dollar home. It was crazy. So there was like, what was it, like 3 years, 5 years, and 7-year arms. So all those 3 years were coming due, and they're like, I can't pay for this home. And they were just coming in, turning their keys. I was new to banking. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It was wild. The Big Short is a great movie to watch. Yes, absolutely. I highly recommend everybody watch that. Okay. Why are we having a crypto crash? Could be a couple different things. So while I was in Peru, Jerome Powell decided not to lower interest rates. And we're not in everybody says we're in the bull run. We're not in the bull run. It's on the back end of this year. I always get the dates wrong. I don't do dates or price predictions. Because I'm always wrong with it. I just follow waves of energy, man. I have my exit plan. If it hits my targets, I exit. I dollar cost average in. So I think September, October, we should see Bitcoin go parabolic, especially if they lower interest rates. You have the Bitcoin 6 months after the Bitcoin halving. But you're seeing there's many different reasons, right? You got the Feds did not lower interest rates. So it's like, okay, interesting. And so I think we had it baked in. We thought they were going to lower interest rate 3 or 4 times. They haven't lowered it once. That could have something to do with it. So a lot of different factors going on. Crypto's crashing. Ban cause risk of assets preferred. Macro reasons. Is that a question? Crypto's crashing bad because of risk of assets are preferred. Macro. Yes, you got it. Think he's answered the question. Yes, he's absolutely right. Yep. Thank you. I noticed there are 3 times when Bitcoin goes down, XRP goes up. I'm sure there's a correlation. If Gonzo's in the comments here, Gonzo is our technical analysis guy. So, do you live in Bourne, Texas? I do not. I live in Arizona. Best advice I can give is know what you hold. Stop looking at prices, guys. Good luck. Absolutely. Read the book, Intelligent Investor. Midas Mining, love it. 33. Absolutely. Everybody read the book, Intelligent Investor. Okay. Understand that understand the quote that billionaires use astrology, millionaires use charts, right? If you're emotional, you're going to get wrecked. If you're waiting to get rich quick, you're going to get wrecked. Okay. It is not, you buy, hold, have an exit strategy. Okay. You cannot be emotionally attached to cryptocurrency. You can't be emotionally attached to stocks. You will always get wrecked because your emotions will look like the market, right? We are the exit liquidity. Now that these asset managers are coming in, you have to have an exit plan. Now, if you're holding long-term, no problem. And maybe you're going to do an asset-backed loan, tax-free loan on your assets in the future. But I'll explain that really quickly as I do on the back end of every video. So I follow what's called the risk pyramid, right? So basically, and I repeat it in nauseam because it really, really helped me, guys. So 2020, I had a vertical strategy, right? So, and I've always been super transparent with you guys. So I left corporate America banking in 2017, a high paid vice president job at a bank, a VP. I left, I started a company. I lost my money twice in the process, right? The second time was when COVID hit. So I finally got my business going. Warrior Academy was booming. And then COVID came and shut our business down. Now, the problem was in the cash flow quadrant, I was on the left side of the cash flow quadrant. So I went from trading time for money in a corporation, and then I became self-employed, which you're still trading time for money, which is not the way you become rich, right? And then I had cryptocurrency. So I was self-employed, trading time for money. So the only way I could make more money was to give up more time, right? So when COVID came and it shut down our business, well, what happened? There was no passive income because if I couldn't put in time, I couldn't make money. So I had this robust crypto pool at that time, what I thought was robust based on how quickly I got into it. And I lost everything besides my crypto. So I decided to move back with my parents. I humbled myself. They shut our business down completely. We lost all of our revenue. So I'm like, okay, so I have a choice. I could cash out some of my crypto. I can go get a place, or I can humble myself at 43 years old, move back in with my parents and get my shit together. So what I did is I moved back in with my parents and I started studying in nauseam how wealth moves through the system. I realized I was in what's called a vertical strategy, right? Going to school, getting a job, 401k. Then I was working in a business and I had crypto. And I was saying things like, when XRP goes to this, or when this crypto does this, I'm going to retire, I'm going to be rich. That is not a wealth strategy. A wealth strategy is understanding how money moves through the system. So I started to diversify, right? So I started to insure my wealth. So when I would gain profit, I started my first index universal life policy in 2020. I would profit, I would pull, max fund my policies, right? I just kept that process going. And as my wealth paradigm changed, I opened up a new policy based on my wealth paradigm. Well, in that time, when we got back into business, I started to expand my business and I got out of working in the business and I moved to create a business that had systems and processes, right? Multiple companies had systems and processes. So when you move from trading time for money into a business that has systems and processes, it generates income without you being there. You take that income and then you invest. So I moved from trading time for money down to self-employed. Then I moved into a business, scaling it, multiple businesses, 6 companies, 3 that are in profit right now, that all have systems and processes that bring passive income in. I take that income, I put it into the capital markets. When the capital markets, cryptocurrency specifically, when they profit, I pull from the profit, I secure my principal, I secure it in something that I can borrow against tax-free, okay? And then I also work to get compound interest. So now I created this system that from 2024 to 2030 is where I'm going to build generational wealth for my family. So I'm going to repeat the same process. So I went from completely broke on my parents' couch to, in the top 1% of earning financially. And, my businesses make millions, but I, as the CEO, don't make the millions from the business, right? We have team members, we have buildings, we have expenses and all that stuff. But I made it to the top 1% of earning, but I don't buy Lambos and Ferraris and big houses. I've been reinvesting that. And that's what everybody should be doing. So when you get a big chunk of money in cryptocurrency, when it comes in, you should be thinking, richest man in Babylon. How can I take this big chunk of money and free myself from the enslavement system? How can you take that money and put it into something that'll create cash flow? When it creates cash flow, make a brother or sister. How can you put that into something that creates cash flow? And then you start to think, okay, what are your non-negotiables that you can't live without? Okay. Then you take your debts and your non-negotiables. Okay. So your debts and your non-negotiables, you figure out, well, how much do you have to operate with? Everything above that, you invest. Then you ask yourself, when you go, how you say you want a Lambo. Someday I love fast cars. Someday I'll have a Lambo. I want one. I can afford one, but I don't need one. Okay. So the only way I can buy a Lambo is to get an asset to pay for the liability. So that I drive a very nice car right now, but that's paid for by one of my companies for a tax write-off. Okay. So this is where we have to change our brain. That's why I always tell people, in order to end up in a different situation, you have to rewire the foundation. That is so important, because we meet with hundreds of people a week with our needs assessment. So we're licensed agents and we meet with people and everybody's like, when crypto does this, it's like, no, now create a budget. Now look at your non-negotiables. If you have 2 cars, go down to 1, free up cash flow. You should be working to always free up cash flow. And then you take the cash flow and you invest in yourself first. Okay. Then from there, when you make profit, you put it into something that you can either borrow against tax-free, or you can repeat the process. Now our next phase is we're going to go into real estate. So the next phase for me mentally is I want to get myself in a position where having enough real estate that every single operating expense I have, non-negotiable and debt, is paid for by real estate. So no matter what happens with anything, if my academy goes under, my insurance arm goes under, if anything, all these things that we created, Merlin, all these companies we have, if those go under, I'm good. I can always survive. So that's the mindset we need to have, because a lot of you are going to get a large amount of money in a short amount of time. So I'll get off my soapbox there. Do you think we will make it to year's end? Oh, absolutely. I want more time to earn fiat and to flip shiny things and other assets. Yeah. It's going to be capitulate, if that's the right word. It's going to be really hairy, man. The markets are going to be up. They're going to be down. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be just like the market's going down right now. These are great opportunities to buy in. And I think on the back end of the year, don't quote me on this, but if economic cycles or Bitcoin cycle follows the same cycle, it's going to go up in September, October. And you guys can correct me on here, chart people. But I think September, October, it's going to start going up. Bitcoin dominance will start to drop. It'll flood into altcoins. And if they lower interest rates, boom, we'll see a big rise on the back end of 2024. We'll have the bull run in 2025, and then 2026 will go back down again. And so I believe you have a lot more time. We're all super duper early though. I mean, even if you got into 20, it's always sucks to get in at the top, but the next 6 months are super critical, I believe, for buying prices. I really believe that. So let's see what this says about, okay. So at 32 Warrior Academy, take a look at the Tether white paper, page 10, bottom paragraph, see what it says about Tether. If that's not a scam, tell me what isn't good. Work as always. Oh, thank you so much. I'll take a look at that. Appreciate you. Awesome. Let's see. See, nobody's going to take your gold at Starbucks. Nobody's going to take your gold at Sainsbury, right? I agree 100%. So I'm using Bitcoin as my gold, man. I'm not going to be, I probably won't even be touching my Bitcoin. I'm just going to hold on to it as a store of value. I will probably in the future leverage it to get tax-free money. So that's really important. So if you ever want to, if you don't want to pull profits, in the future, I'm sure banks will be custodying cryptocurrency. There'll be, legit exchanges that survive regulation and all that stuff. And you'll be able to do asset-backed loans. That's how the wealthy become wealthy, right? So like, for example, that's why I'm max funding my index universal life policies, because number one, I'm getting it out of the banking system. I'm putting it where the banks put their money, right? Insurance companies operate opposite of the banks. So banks, you put in, I think it's 0% fractional reserves now, but it used to be 10%, right? So for example, if you put $10,000 into a bank, they lend out 9,000 to the next person walking in. Insurance companies are flip-flopped, right? They're super collateralized, right? So if you put in, I don't know the exact numbers, but if you put in $10, they're going to hold on to 9 and lend out 1. So it's the opposite. That's why banks own billions of dollars of life insurance. That's why wealthy people insure their wealth. And on top of all of that, I have what's called the Rockefeller waterfall system. So I have my policies within my Rockefeller waterfall system. 50% goes to my kids, 50% goes in the dynasty trust. And I have, is it 2 irrevocable and 1 revocable? And basically irrevocable means, or revocable means it can be changed, right? So one has an evolving piece to it where it can change while I'm alive. And then once I die, it's irrevocable. It can't be changed. And then the rules stay the same. And that money is passed down to generation after generation. So when I die, there's rules and regulations within my dynasty trust. So if my kids come to borrow from that trust, they have to attach an insurance policy to it. So when they pass away, the death benefit pays back the loan. And so that's how the Rockefellers became the richest family in the world. And the Vanderbilts ran out of their money in 7 years. So the rooster, do you? Riffraff, at Riffraff, the rooster. Oh, sorry. She's answering a question here. No, I do not live in Texas. The war is another reset. Yeah. Let's see. Putin is right. When the world sanctioned South Africa, we had the strongest currency. Jobs for all act. Yep. You got it, man. You got it. I do not live in Texas. I do not live in Texas. I promise. Yeah, I love this. The physical war started the day you were born, man. Let's dive into that, man. So, the coming back from Peru, I'm still getting tons of downloads. Yeah, that's why we're here, guys. We're here to ascend darkness back to light. It's where we came from. Our soul just transfers energy. Our soul came into this physical body to have this human experience, right? So the womb, the matrix, go watch the movie The Matrix. Neo, the neocortex, Morpheus is God, Neo is Christ, right? He is like, you are me, I am you. You'll be able to dodge a bullet when you figure that out. The agents are what he created. They're sitting in pods, right? They're sitting in the womb, the matrix. They're born in this physical reality. He thinks he's trying to find something, and he is that something, right? So when you're born, your soul comes into this experience to transmute darkness into light. We come into this dense physical body with emotions, with hate, not with that, sorry, to experience these things. And so a child, right, has a pure subconscious mind from birth to 8 years old. Then they become conscious and they forget who they are, right? That's why Jesus says, again, in the kingdom of heaven, be like these lowly children, right? Get back into the right hemisphere of the brain. Cast your nets to the right. Jacob saw God face to face. He fell asleep on the rock, the sacrum. He saw a ladder with 33 rungs in it. At the top of the 33 rung, 33 vertebrae, he saw a bright light, which was God. So when he closed his eyes, the pineal gland activates in darkness. When you close your eyes, your dominant thought. So more monkey business is right. The physical war started the day you were born, and your job is to ascend that darkness back to light. There's nobody stopping you from being rich. There's nobody stopping you from being wealthy. There's nobody stopping you from being healthy or abundant. You can do this. It doesn't matter what's happening within the physical reality. It matters what's happening here in the projection of your soul, which is your mind. Great. Would it be smart to buy a home right now and rent it out for our first home before rate cuts? Yeah, because if rate cuts come down, rates get cut, the home's going to go through the roof. I mean, it's just that's what's going to happen. People are all excited about rates going down. I'm like, yeah, but it's like the rates going down. It's this indoctrination thing. The rates going down is going to increase the asset, right? So I see a lot of real estate people saying this. This is the best time to buy, man. I bought a house in 2 years ago, and I mean, I can't believe the price I paid for it. It's not a big house. It's like just under 2,000 square feet. It's in a nice neighborhood, location, but I paid $600,000 for a 2,000 square foot home. It's nothing fancy, guys. It's a cute home. I love it. Absolutely love it. But it doesn't make any sense. The mortgage payment at 6% is like $4,000, $3,900. I mean, that's effing crazy. When I bought my home as an executive in 2012, my mortgage payment, it was on a 15,000 square foot lot, a 3,000 square foot home right next to a golf course in a cul-de-sac, RV gate, casita, massive house, 15,000 square foot lot. My mortgage payment was $1,200. I bought it for $212,000. I buy it just under 2,000 square foot home 2 years ago for $600,000. My mortgage payment is $3,900 a month. It's crazy, guys. I mean, that's wild. So I think owning a home is going to be a rich man or rich woman sport. It just is. It's just the way the economy is going. And if they start dumping treasuries to the other countries, we're going to go into hyperinflation in America. Don't get into physical war. Yeah, I don't want to go into physical war, man. War sucks, dude. Should I not take out a loan to start a business? I don't see anything wrong with taking out a loan to start a business. As long as you should always just go for it, man. I'm telling you, like taking out a loan to start a business makes sense, right? Taking out a loan to buy a freaking $80,000 car that's a personal car doesn't make sense. Taking out a loan to go to school for 6 years to come out and make $30,000. Starting a business though, it's a great risk, man. It's a great risk. We have debt for our business. We've taken loans, and we've needed it sometimes. In the early part of our business, it took me 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21. It took me 5 years to build my first 7-figure ecosystem. And it gets easier as you start to build them because you understand systems, process, and scaling. Now we have we're coming up on our third 7-figure ecosystem. But I took loans in the beginning. I was buried in debt, and I've been in debt. I've been out of debt, but they've always been. Now all my debt is based on, like you're doing, is creating assets, cash flow, things like that. So I only use debt to create something that will create some sort of cash flow. So people are not prepared. Most people aren't. You're absolutely right. So yeah. I mean, it's if you're trading time for money, we're kind of all stuck in this, enslavement system. It's an entrapment of the mind, really. We trade so much time for money. We don't have time to pay attention. And that is the whole system. In the 1900s, a very wealthy family said, we have enough educated people. We need some workers, right? And so welcome to the world of workers. We trade more time for money. We're so sick we can't pay attention, and we keep feeding the machine, man. Why use Bitcoin as your gold if you can't physically own it? Why not own physical gold? Great question. The reason why is, so I have silver, and I can't, this is my thought process on it. Like, for example, if shit hit the fan, and I have a big safe full of gold, right? I can't put the gold in my pocket and run across the border. But I can use Bitcoin across borders, and I have used Bitcoin across borders. And so I just traveled to Peru and I did use it. And so just in one transaction, I used my Coinbase card. But I also am, like, some people are like, doomsday, they're just gold, silver. So I'm very diversified. And it took me a long time to get into Bitcoin as well. So if you guys had followed my content in the past, I didn't get into Bitcoin until last year. Of course, I wish I would have got in earlier, but the reason was I had my own weird narrative, and I kind of just dropped conspiracy theories because, number one, most of them never came true. Number two is I realized that I'm the cause and effect. It's me. I'm causing all these thoughts, and I'm causing all this anxiety, and it's like always waiting for someone to come back, right? So to answer your question, Bitcoin to me is a great store of value because it kind of operates like gold, other than it has a fixed supply, right? 80% of the supply has not moved. It's a risk on, risk off asset. And supposedly it can't be printed, right? It can't be manipulated. Who knows? We might find out something different. So that's my reason why, is because if I have to pick up and run to a different country, I can just take my Bitcoins in my pocket on my card, or transfer back and forth. I can just all different countries. So I have silver for barterability though, just in case. Great question. Do you think there'll be a flip of the switch moment then is when it proceeds by adoption, or just a huge swan followed by adoption? Do you think there'll be a big flip? I don't think there's going to be a big flipped switch moment. I think it's going to be an ease of adoption. I think, where we're going to get the price appreciation is the organic bull run, right? We need utility. We need a ton of utility to come through XRP. We need to start talking more about XRPL. We built our X royalty on XRPL. We need to get more people using the network, XR, all those things. Then once the case settles, then it's full bore for institutional adoption, right? That's the biggest key for that. And that's how I got into XRP, guys. I'm an ex-banker. I went to CBA Executive Banking School. I learned how to scale banks. So when I got introduced to XRP, I was like, why aren't banks using it? And then I realized there are banks using it, the technologies and things like that. So it's just going to take adoption. So how does XRP price benefit from real USD? I don't know how to answer that question. So maybe I don't really understand how to answer that. So just being honest. So if anybody can answer that for the one-eyed Willie. Your opinion on XRP, XLM, HBAR, XDC. I have a lot of XRP, I have a lot of XLM, and I have a lot of HBAR. So definitely that answers your question. I actually surpassed XRP. So XRP, I have quite a bit of XRP, XLM. HBAR, I surpassed my XRP just recently because I've been dollar cost averaging. XDC, interesting enough, Quincy Jones is one of our dear friends as well. I haven't bought any XDC, but I think it's a great project. So I'm not speaking from experience of owning it. I'm speaking from experience of knowing Quincy Jones, which he's one of the developers of XDC. And I think it's a great project. I just have so many cryptos that I'm like, I'm good with what I have. So Ripple coin. Oh, how would that benefit? I don't really, so the stable coin part of it, unless, I honestly don't know how to answer that question. There's been so many people that said it won't affect it. I think what's going to affect XRP's price is it becoming a bridge currency and people using it as their bridge. That's what's going to affect the price of XRP. Let's see. XLR, Ripple's partnership for tokenization follows on from Graham. Okay. Said 30 to 50 trillion on the XRPL of 2025. I'd expect the price to spike massive. Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, man. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. That actually happened while I was in Peru, so I got to dive into that. There's so much that I'm not caught up on, but I heard that partnership was massive. Yeah, that's it. So the money needs to move through the system, right? That's what we need. Let's see here. What are your months timeline for the bull run? Late 2024, 2025. It's going to be late 2024 through 2025. If it follows the same pattern, wasn't it? It was late 2020 through 2021 that collapsed in 2022. Because I remember it was pumping in 2020 back end, then it pumped again big time on the back end of 2021. So I believe because of interest rates being lowered, presidential election, there's usually an increase in the presidential election cycle, right? Then you have the Bitcoin halving 6 months after. Then we have interest rates dropping, everybody going to flight to quality. That's the benefit for us as crypto owners, guys, of the American economy doing shitty, if there's a benefit. The shittier it gets, the more people are going to run to cryptocurrency, right? So I think we're all doing the right thing. I think we're all doing the best we can with the resources we have. Daniel Jackson, because it's flexible and accessible around the world. Let's see, show more respect. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, hit that like button. Hit that like button. I'm going to be doing this every single Monday, guys. And then on Fridays, I'm going to be working to. I developed some deep connections around the world, so I'm going to be bringing on some special guests. Some stars that are also involved in XRP that I think is really fun, that are kind of behind the scenes. And so every Friday within the next couple of weeks, I'm building out this ecosystem where I'm going to be interviewing some of the best and brightest. I'm going to be going after some of the biggest people to interview them. I'm not going to stop till I get them on there. On my wish list is Robert Kiyosaki. I'd love to get Robert Kiyosaki on here. Daniel Cambone. Danielle Booth, I think it is. She wrote the book she used to be at the Federal Reserve. These Ray Dalio. These are people that are on my target list, right? I haven't gotten commitments from them yet, but I'm gonna get them there. So I feel that our channel is at a point where we have 2.2 million followers across all platforms. We get about 500,000 views a day across all our platforms. So I think we've hit that realm where we can start getting bigger interviews on here, which that's gonna be my goal, and that'll be a Friday thing. So I'm building that out right now. So we're actually really gonna ramp up our media at 3T. So big shout out to the Good Morning Crypto Show. If you guys don't, I'm sure you guys all do. One of the best crypto morning shows in the world. Abs, the greatest host in human history. We actually put him up on our banner there. He is a staple here, and the Johnny Crypto. We got Mario, Abs, the whole team out there. Gonzo, Jackie, just amazing, absolutely amazing. In Europe, people started receiving letters from the military for drills. Wow. There's up to 5 years in jails for not showing up. Yeah, I'm starting to hear too. They're trying to pass bills around draft in America. Guys, we're here. It's unfortunate, but we're here, man. It's unfortunate. So I'm going to go for about another 4 minutes here. You can use physical gold as currency now with the Glint card. Yep, you're absolutely right. Yep, I like that. Yeah, the Glint card. Actually, the guys from Glint, I'm going to be talking with them soon. I saw them again at XRP Las Vegas, and so we're supposed to meet up. We just haven't caught up with each other. Always remember, there's only one shop what will take your gold in bad times, and that's a pawn shop. Let's see. The dollar won't collapse. It will be tokenized. I agree with you, Daniel. Yep, I agree with you 100%. Thank you, KG. I'm excited to be back. So if you guys don't know, I go to Peru usually twice a year. So I work with a plant medicine called San Pedro. I'm very open about it. I'm very proud of it. I've been doing it since 2019. I think that was my 19th ceremony. And some life-changing stuff. If you guys are interested too as well, I started to talk a little bit about my spiritual stuff on here, and I think it was turning people off. And so I created a new channel. If you go down to my recommended, it's called Refined Integrity, which I talk about my deep spiritual awakening. And, you know, what I believe I'm here to do is to share my truth around financial and to share my truth around spiritual, my own truth. I'm not trying to get people to believe in anything other than themselves. But so I created a channel called Refined Integrity. So if you are interested in the spiritual side of what I do, it's a very big piece of me. Jesus Christ, Christ Jesus, Yeshua, my family, we believe in God and we follow Jesus Christ. Pray before every single meal. It's not a religion. It's a belief system in Christ Jesus, one of the greatest men who ever walked this earth, who is an ascended master. And I'm very devoted to my walk with Christ. How do you insure money? Is it through Index Universal? Yes, I use IUL, and it works fantastic for me. Index Universal Life. I absolutely love it. We have a whole team that can help you too. If you fill out a needs assessment in the bio or in the description of this video, or if you're watching this on Twitter, it'll be in my bio. We have an insurance arm of our company. It's completely separate from our 3T Warrior Academy, but we have licensed agents in all 50 states and in Canada. And so you don't have to do Index Universal Life. We can teach you about term, whole life. A lot of people use whole life for infinity banking concept. I use Index Universal Life because I like to secure my money, my principal. I like to get market-like returns and not lose my money. It's index. It's not attached to the market. So it's index the market. It has a floor and a cap on it. Okay. And then I also like to borrow against my money tax-free because I don't think taxes are going to be lower when I retire. So Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you guys like this. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. Hit the like button. I'm ready to connect deeper with our community here. I really love you guys and I appreciate you. Also, too, if you guys are interested, I think we have 6 tickets left. We have a retreat coming up in September. It's called the Revive Retreat. So if you want to hang out with me for 3 days in an undisclosed location, it'll be disclosed when you sign up. It's not, that was dumb. It's disclosed. It's on the freaking, what I meant to say was off-grid location, undisclosed location. How are you going to find it? It's an off-grid location. 20,000 square foot cabin. You have my spiritual coach there, my human design coach. I do some deep wisdom there as well. We do ice baths. You're going to meet all my coaches. I have a lot of different coaches in a lot of different areas within my life. We're going to do some forgiveness activities, all about grounding and reconnecting. So it's a 3-day all intensive. You're going to have the Good Morning Crypto show there. You're going to have me there, all the coaches. You'll be about 70 people there. Private chef. It's absolutely amazing. So that's in the description of the video. I think there's 6 tickets left. So are we going backwards again with making gold as our reserve and modernizing how we move and own assets to tokenizing? Yes, yes. So yes, you're 100%. We're going to go backwards, or we're going to go the way it should be. It should be, all currency should be backed by something to create stable value, right? And you're absolutely right. Everything is going to be tokenized. We're going to go to asset-backed currency, and every single thing will be tokenized. Period. The end. You're not going to stop it. Everything's your birth certificate. Everything is going to be tokenized. Your real estate transactions. Everything's going to move really, 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 really fast. Okay. So if you are, I'm an entrepreneur, so we own 6 companies. And so what I just did, actually, I just built out a whole schematic after Peru, and I'll be meeting with my CFO and COO this week. And we're innovating into the future. We're like super innovating into the future, because if companies are not innovating into the future, AI, money moving at the speed of light, supply chain management. For example, I love the fitness industry as well. Mark Lobliner is one of my favorite people in the fitness industry. He owns what's called Tiger Fitness. And he was talking about the supply chain shocks that he's experiencing. I mean, they can't even get some of the whey protein or some of the ingredients for their whey protein. I mean, it's hitting everybody in the industry. So what do you suggest is the most important thing that someone can begin to practice to prepare for what's coming? Practical first step. Yes, I love this. Other than getting their faith in check. I love that. Amen. Amen. So practical first step is financial literacy. Okay. Yeah, this is such a great question. It's what you teach inside of our academy. Okay. So first is financial literacy, right? So the first step is understanding, I'll answer this and I'm going to jump off because I'm over an hour here. The first step is financial literacy. You have to understand what money is, right? So what is money? Money is debt in America. So if we know that money is debt, if you're always trading time for money and you're putting your money into things that is debt that create the wealthy, you're always going to be stuck in a trap. So when you understand the Federal Reserve was created in 1913 and the dollar's collapsed 97 to 99% since then, basically our money is fake money. So the first thing is to understand what money is, right? The second step is to go into financial discipline, right? You have to look at your budget and you have to say, okay, I need to get extremely disciplined with your finances. There's only 2 ways you can make money, just simplicity. You can lower expenses or increase income. Well, if you can increase income and lower expenses at the same time, you now create cash flow, right? Then you go into financial discipline, and then you go into how to earn, right? So when you're going from understanding what money is, right? What's the cash flow quadrant? How does money flow through the system? You become very disciplined with your finances. You buy things you need, not things you want. Then you go into how to earn, which is phase 3. Phase 3, you can earn money in 2 ways. Decrease expenses, okay? And I'll explain that in just a moment. Increase cash flow. Okay, now you create a gap, which is your income. Now you have increased income. Okay, now how do you get there? So you look at your debt and non-negotiables versus non-negotiables. What are the things you can't live without? Food, shelter. Maybe you do need to go on vacation with your family, because that, to me, traveling with my kids is that's an asset, man. The memories are assets, right? So I make that a non-negotiable. That's in my budget. So by creating a budget non-negotiables, you'll see what you can and cannot live without. If there's things you can live without, you get rid of those, which creates income, right? Then we learn in that aspect, we learn how to earn. So you look at understanding the capital markets, cryptocurrency, stock markets, maybe it's real estate, all these different things. And you pick an avenue that is really enjoyable to you and you're passionate about, and you study the shit out of that. Like, for example, I study the shit out of insurance. So I'm a licensed insurance agent, insurance, the capital markets, how money moves through the system, right? And so I take that extra income, I took the extra income and I put it in the capital markets. Okay. So then you learn how to earn. Then from there, Then you learn how to grow that money. Okay. Now you're learning how to earn. Now we need to learn how to grow that money. For example, when my money goes up in cryptocurrency, I'm not just sitting there watching it going up and becoming the extra liquidity. I'm pulling that money out and I'm growing it, right? So I hold 50% long-term, and I pull the other 50% and I work to grow that money. It could be more into my businesses to expand the cash flow. It could be locking it up into my life insurance policies, which every 7 years at 10%, my money will double, knowing that I can borrow against the cash value and buy more assets. Okay. So now we're in the growing phase, which is 4. And then 5 is protect. There's different phases to the game. Phase 5 is when you start to put trust and put insurance policies in place so that it will go from generation to generation. So phase 1 is financial literacy, understand what money is. Phase 2 is financial discipline. We got to get disciplined with our finances. Start buying things you need, not things you want. Phase 3 is we need to learn how to earn non-negotiables and debt. Once you create that gap, you take that, you put it into the capital markets. And then once that money grows, you learn to multiply it and grow that money, richest man in Babylon. From there, you learn to protect. I have a Rockefeller trust. It'll go from generation to generation. The key is to create safety and security here and safety and security here. So knowing that you're already saved, you're already powerful, you're already amazing. Then you need to get your brain, your mind to match your heart. Okay. Because your mind is a projection of your soul. So if it's already finished here and it's already finished here, you just have to be patient enough to see it here. That's how it works. So I'll leave you guys with that. Remember, what you believe in your heart, you think in your mind, will eventually become your words and become your reality. If you can see it in your mind, eventually you can hold it right here in your hands. What you repeatedly do gets ingrained in your subconscious mind. What gets ingrained in your subconscious mind becomes an unconscious activity. If you need any support, if you click the description down below, you can fill out a needs assessment. I'll have one of my proper team members reach out to you to make sure that we can support you. I love you guys. I appreciate you. As we always say, warriors, rise, get your shit together. Let's go. Oh, I'm getting used to live. Love you guys. See you soon.